Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers. We are continuing in the Survival Series 2, and in fact continuing on in the rather elaborate station building, space station building here. So, I've done a few things off screen, and the reason for that was just a little bit tedious stuff. So really just kind of building stuff in, and well, yeah, building stuff in. Now, one of the interesting things about arming a station is there any such thing as being too armed? And I don't know how people really view things. I look at it and say there's no such thing as being too armed. So one of the things that I did, so let's kind of look from the top-down view. Oops, sorry, pushed the wrong button. So this is our station. So from the very bottom to the very top here. Because of this tower having been previously built, it was already armed. So there were 4 Gatling turrets up there and 2 missile turrets, and the spire on the bottom logically ended up being the same. So the scaffolding areas were designed with 12 mount points each. So I used the center mount points for missiles and the end mount points for Gatling. So I've completely armed everything as it was intended, and then decided how am I going to arm the rest of this. So as I got to looking, obviously we have a lot of armaments down here, and so let's shift over into the warfighting mode here. From a lateral perspective, so coming in from any of the cardinal coordinates around the center, then this thing is really well armed, and you're going to be hard pressed to get in here. Maybe you'll get 1 or 2 shots off, but in the end you're going to be hard pressed to come in, at least within any sort of combat type range. So that having been said, it was the matter of the other directions, which is really to say up and down relative. So from the cardinal around the z-axis here, we're very well armed. From the perspective of up and down, we weren't so well armed. So one of the things that I had built in the process of modifying the cargo pod mounts was to add in, when I chopped off the bottom mounts, I added a port. So they ended up a missile and originally 3 Gatlings, and I took off this the centermost Gatling on all 4 Cardinals when I put in the shielding systems. So the shielding systems are brand new. They literally, that was the last thing I installed before I pressed the record button. So what I need to do is change ownership and set groups for the shielding, which is really to set a system shielding group. And then I wanted to, right now, I wanted to do something that is station-centric, which is really to say I have 3 different conveyor systems. Only one of them is interconnected to everything, which is to say the main supply. So the main supply feeds all of the weapons, all that sort of thing, with very few exceptions. There is a couple places where I'm pulling off the fuel ice for oxygen. which is exactly what it was intended for. So originally, it usually when I have, infinite amount of space and I'm doing the tri-conveyor system, I actually build all of um, my reactors and gaseous generation on the blue side. So I actually plumb everything into the blue, and then I transition stuff across appropriately. So what I was thinking that we would do, first thing I need to do is change the ownership values, because I am kind of running in creative here. Um, running in creative, I need to change ownership, because ownership always ends up as nobody. So we're going to do the unhide everything, Control A to select everything, and then me, and yes. And then we can turn this back off again. We have a lot of stuff down here, so all of these upgrade cubes are actually the upgrade cubes on the shielding system. So there's a bunch of them, and then we have these large shield generators. So what I really want to do here is we'll go ahead and change this. There are no settings to speak of that we need to worry about with the shielding system. So basically we turn the shielding on and it does what it does. That was the antenna in the middle, which is why everything blanked out. So in this case we're going to do systems shielding. Okay, so we verify that I am the owner, and it's not necessarily that it's me. Anybody who copies and pastes this into the world, it's going to say me. So the idea is that it needs to have ownership. If it's nobody, then strange things happen. Especially when it comes to protection systems like the Gatling turrets and everything. If it's nobody, it's considered a neutral. If you build a Gatling gun, the default is fire on neutral, and I have seen line after line in the forums complaining about that, but it's still there. So save. We're going to turn this off on the toolbar and off on the terminal, which will take a little while because there's a bunch of blocks. Okay, so all those should have gone away, which they did. So we now put everything into this shielding, and just to verify, so that's a turn all hidden on, and we verify that that me is the owner of everything. All right. So having done that, so that is our shielding systems. Now, why did I put the shielding systems exposed? Well, shielding systems are pretty big. So the idea here is, how do I build the shielding systems into something while being semi-protected, but also without having to dedicate just a boatload of space to them. And that's where the real challenge came in, is how do I want to do that? So I went ahead and decided, okay, I've got a lot of just open space down here. So why don't I go ahead and utilize that open space for something reasonable, like my shielding systems. Now, the shielding systems being exposed to the universe is, it's really kind of 6 of one, half dozen the other, how you look at it. If you encase it in armor, then of course it's a little bit more protected, but in this case, it's shielding systems. So the shielding systems are going to protect itself as well as the rest of your grid. And when you run out of shielding, then they'll start taking damage, just like your armor would start taking damage. But if I'm out of shields and I'm now down to relying on my armor, I'm toast anyway. Okay, so the shielding systems here in this case are really truly what protect this thing, because there's so much on this particular station that's exposed, simply because of how it's built. You know, it's not built with heavy armor, although there are a few sections of heavy armor, but it's really about the aesthetics. So it's not built to be nuclear survivable, although I did want to kind of throw it into combat to see how it does. So one of the things you notice is as I'm moving, it is stuttering pretty badly. Let me go ahead and do Shift F11, which puts everything up on the screen. It's claiming to be running at pretty steady 1, but I don't think that's actually true because of this little stutter that it's doing. And it's, you know, during the building, it makes it kind of a pain in the ass because it as you're trying to paste, it doesn't actually, it misses the mouse click and that sort of thing. So one of the other things I wanted to do here, which the figuring out how to do this is kind of where the challenge comes in. And what I want to do is build in a redundant system here that is actually the core of the pull-in system. Now, here's the challenge of really any pull-in system is can I go through? No, can't go through the center. So what I'm thinking here, what I want to do is, so I've got this is about symmetry. I have these shielding systems here, so my intention is to put 3 large cargo containers along this piece, okay, which would come right up to here. So effectively what I have, and let me go ahead and add this in. So I'm going to go over to 4 because those are my my armored conveyors, and we're going to put in. So this is a number 5, which is the elbow, and yep, that's exactly what I want. There's the 4. And then we're actually gonna tunnel through here. I think that's on the same plane. Yes, it is. Now, theoretically, I could have tunneled backwards through in there, and that would have been all fun. Well, no, I can't because that's a blue right there. So, never mind. So, what we'll actually do, even though it might look a little strange, is come out and so we conveyor tube, conveyor tube, conveyor tube, conveyor tube, and then elbow right here. And oh, this is interesting. And we can't do that either. So what I was going to do here is was actually come through and then transition down, and rather than going around and covering this, would come up and around and over, and because the green is where it is, then the question mark is, what is that particular green, and is there a way around it? And I don't think there is, because of the fact that yeah, there really isn't a way around there, which means I'm really kind of stuck coming up and over. and I'm okay with coming up and over. And in fact, the transition area here is I'll go ahead and tunnel through because so this is my plane here, and what I have here is I can take that one and then that one, and this will be an elbow, which will come like this. There'll be another elbow which will come like this, and then the straight through. And what I'm doing here in this case is effectively in. So we take that corner piece out. Now I suppose I could come up and over this and just take the place of that particular thing, but I think I'm going to leave those plates there and come out here and down. Okay, so it's the up and over is really what this is. So in this case, we transition like this. We're going to put elbows in. So now I just need to figure out. Okay, there was the mouse didn't actually do what I wanted it to do. So there's the elbow. We actually have another elbow, so we're going to come up. We transition this way, then we transition sideways, and then let's come around and transition here. So it looks really silly, but in the end we came up and around where we had intended to go. Alright, and just because of the way I've changed things, I want to go ahead and change a few other things. So we're going to integrate stuff in to make it actually look like this belongs here. So we'll change that one. We'll change that one. And we'll change that one. And if we really wanted to, we could change this one out as well, this corner piece, and turn it into, more like this, or just leave the transition the way it is. And I'm good with it the way it is. There's a lot going on here. The only other thing I do want to put here is a corner piece, which is there. So the idea here is just to make this look like it actually does belong here. I am gonna add one more here, and then a corner here. Oh, nope, sorry, that was the wrong piece. We're actually going to add an angle, a slope there. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. That's much more appropriate. So the only argument here is, do I do something similar here so I'm symmetrical? And I guess there's no real argument I have for why I shouldn't. I mean, I'm already there, right? So yeah, I'm already there. So let me go ahead and remove a couple things here. So this one will go in there. I'm actually going to take that out there. So rather than going up and over like I did here, mostly because I didn't have that corner, I couldn't go through right there. I'm not going to do the up and the over, but I am going to go around. So there we go. We'll transition all of these like this. So one of the other things that we need to do in this case is actually put in this piece here, which also mandates the piece there. And then this becomes this the inverted corner, I think. Yes. And then this becomes an inverted corner, and this becomes an inverted corner. And then our corner here and here. Alright, so that transitions that a little bit better. We need an elbow here. Actually, I'm gonna alter this yet again, and so let's go to 4. Sluggish, laggy. All right, Control 4, better, and 5. So we'll flip this sideways because that's actually exactly what we need. We'll put that one there. This one becomes a number 4, which is a straight through. And then this becomes a straight through. That also, yeah, so everything else is elbows from here on out. So let's flip. So that one becomes an elbow that way, this one becomes an elbow this way, this one becomes an elbow this way, this one becomes an elbow this way, and then this one becomes the elbow in there. For this side here, I think this is appropriate here. On this side, we're going to do, change back to our tiger orange. And even though these are not paintable blocks, I like being consistent. So that's the corner, corner, and corner. In this case, we're going to do about the same thing. So this becomes this piece. This goes away. This goes away. This becomes this becomes a regular block. This becomes a regular block. This becomes a corner. This becomes a corner. This becomes one of those guys. And then we start pasting in corner pieces. So there's a corner. There's a corner. And then 7. Hard to see. Alright, so if I have done everything correctly, which it looks like I have, then we now have that all plumbed in. So, what was this all about? Well, this was about really ensuring, and I'm going to take out these 3. So 6, delete, delete, and delete. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So delete, delete, and delete. So what have I done? What have I done? Here's what we're looking at. Let me bring up toolbar 8. G. We want large cargo containers. So I'm staying away from Kenti blocks, and the reason for that is obviously that's not a loadable mod. Well, I guess not obviously, but that is not a mod that is available on the Steam Workshop for everybody. It's out there, and the only reason actually that it is out there is because if you do any world sharing or something like that, the person you're sharing the world with has to have access to that mod. So right now it's a friends only mod. Originally when I was going to do a dedicated server, then the problem with the dedicated server, even if you have access to it as you own the damn server, right? If it's listed in Steam as friends only, it won't load. So your dedicated server will just hang forever, and there's no error messages. There's no anything to tell you that's what's going on, but it will not be able to load that mod, and it hangs right there. It does not continue any further. So when I learned that, and this is probably several iterations ago, I think I was still in like 7.6 or 7.7. The last time I actually attempted to play with the dedicated server. It did not work well for me. I had plenty of machine. Here I did it on 3 different machines, in fact, trying to get it to work. And even on my local network, I could not log into my own machine. So when I brought up the client on this game machine, or actually the former game machine, this one has replaced that particular machine. I could not. There was no mechanism that would actually find my own dedicated server on my network. So even if I pointed it to it via IP address, it wouldn't see it as being there. So I could ping it, I could, whatever, but was not there. So I did not have any good luck in making a dedicated server work on my local network. And I don't know why that was. After several hours of trying to just get the software to communicate, I gave up. So it was this is not worth it. The directions were all fine and dandy, but the directions didn't get into. The directions basically said do this. I did that, and it should work. Well, it didn't, which means there's no more information on troubleshooting, on making it work, or the requirements of does it reach out to Steam, does it reach out, how does this work? So there was all these things that I discovered that in the end was just like, okay, I'm not going to bother with this. The other side of that is that even on a dedicated server, multiplayer, I hate to say it quite this way, multiplayer doesn't work. Okay, multiplayer is extremely problematic. And while there's been some pretty good demonstrations in the latter revisions like 79 and 80 and forward of rather large groups of people coming onto a player-hosted game works pretty well. So to point to a particular YouTuber out there, Wasted Space, has done a couple, I think it's 5 or 6 now, called Engineer Wars, where he's had teams of 5 and 6 and 7 people, and then him and 2 other moderators. And it actually works amazingly well. There's a little bit of rubber banding here and there on the client people, but for the most part it works pretty well. So for player hosted games, it actually does reasonably well. I have not figured out how to do that. So anyway, that was babbling off in 20 different directions. So large cargo container, We need to change that to red because this is actually going to be the all right. Trying to get this thing set up, which is actually this is right side up because I'm upside down. Okay, so I want the ribs pointing as they are. There's going to be 3 each here. Okay, so 1, 2, and then 3. All right, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to put 3 in here. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, we won't plumb those in just yet. And there is, in fact, a reason for that.
Energy low.
Look and see if there's a hole through here. I might be able to go through right there. So here's what I'm thinking about, and this is what makes this a little bit interesting. I need to put in ultimately a pull-in sorter, and I would like to put in a single pull-in sorter. But the question really is there a way to do a singular pull-in so I could tap off, really anywhere? And the idea is that I want that pull-in sorter to be able to dump into these containers independently. So one of the problems is if I plumb a pull-in sorter. So let's just say my pull-in sorter is right there. Okay, so not in front of me, but the next block in. So we put a T into that pull-in system in the back there, and that pull-in system, of course, is interconnected throughout the entire station. That was the whole idea of that red independent connected. So I have a pull-in sorter which pulls in everything, and I want to make that now. I'm thinking through and getting ahead of myself, and all of that construction I just did to plumb that piece all the way around, wrong side. So it's just the humor moment. Laugh away, please, because I just totally screwed that up. So if you have a sorter and you plumb it into a container, when that container is full, even if it might be connected to 5 or 6 other containers, if that container gets full, the sorter will stop sorting because the directly connected container is full. Okay, it won't push into the next container. So containers have to be directly connected. Now, if you use the methodology of I'm going to plumb in a conveyor system that goes to multiple that goes to multiple containers, that's different because that conveyor system connects onto multiple cargo containers. So it's directly connected. So if one of them fills up, it just goes to the next one. So it's this unique thing is that it won't push through a container, but if there is a dedicated system that interconnects, a manifold that interconnects multiple containers, then it can use all the containers, and you will never plug up your system. So here's why I say I'm wrong. So the transitionary here, which is good and bad, putting these here is great because it gives me a centralized repository to get the materials into that red system. The problem is, how do I pull out of this? So now I have all this stored here, but I almost need a dedicated intermediate that I can pull stuff out. So this may not be this may not be a good idea. So I may want to pull this. I may want to pull the pull in a dedicated module of some kind where I can actually do stuff. So here's what I would have to do. Somewhere I would have to have this here. If I do the pull in to here, then the pull in system works fine. But I have to be able to transition from pull in to getting all the materials into normal storage. So everything that's complete, like my ingots, my hand tools, my components, have to be able to pull completely through and push into interconnected main storage cargo. That's not very hard, but how do I take, for example, ore, which ore comes in and then stays in these pull-in containers, and then the refineries which actually connect onto these pull-in containers then draw out the ore, process it, and then push it in, or rather there are sorters which will pull that material in to the main storage cargo container. So basically we pull it in as ingots. So I love the idea of having the pull-in system here and the storage here because it's convenient, but I still need to transition this. So unless I build all my refineries here, which is entirely possible, there may also be the idea of so what I could do is 8 refineries, 2 on each side of this thing, and that way the refineries are pulling and pushing back in, and then my ingots will just come out. So that maybe that is indeed the way I should go ahead and do this. So here's the problem. I oopsed. So I made all of these changes through this whole thing, made this all nice and pretty, and I did it on the wrong side. So, oops. So the good news is I have a pretty decent template. So let's go ahead and fix all of this. So we go back to our tiger orange. We will kind of start all over again. So we're just going to take big chunks and pieces out of this thing and put it back the way it was. Oh, wow, we're really... We're gonna tear this whole thing apart. This was a pretty big oops.
Energy critical.
Including these corner pieces. So the idea here is that we get this back to the way it was, and then start over, basically. So in this case, we don't actually need... okay, so the good news here is we are mounted on this. Okay, so originally when I first started building, this was my mount point. So what's the
No energy.
the reality here is you need to be aware of what things are doing what when it comes to mount points and that sort of thing. So just to make yourself aware. All right, now I have to figure out what this is doing here. See, it's so hard to see this, you know, within the confines of a scaffolding, what, you know, is actually going on here. So this is a box. That was a box by virtue of this was a slope. This became a corner here. This was a slope which was sideways that was there. And here, this is a inverted corner like this. This I think is also an inverted corner, and this was a block. And then this I think is an inverted corner, and corner. Alright, and nope. Okay, I was one block off. So, inverted corner, inverted corner, corner, and corner. There we go. And then I need to do the same thing over here to return this to its original state. So this is a corner. That's already an inverted corner. So corner and corner. Okay, does that look like what we were at? Yep, yep, yep. And then this is a corner, and this is an inverted corner, and then this was corner. Alright, now even though I really altered this beyond the scope, I kind of want to get back to baseline. But we, I altered this earlier, so let me go back to where I was, which is this. This is a inverted corner. This is an inverted corner. And then I have a corner here.
No energy.
The regular thing there. This is there. This is a corner. This is a corner. This is a full block back there. This is an inverted corner, and this is an inverted corner, which means this is a corner piece, and this is a corner piece, and that's a corner piece. Alright, let's see what we got here. See what we got. Okay, we have one funky transition right there. Okay, because that should have been that piece. Alright, so that corner looks good. Let's have a look and see. This corner looks good. So I put that corner back to norm. Eventually we may put slopes all along here, kind of as a visual mount. And this is back to normal, including the mounts here, which I took off on the other side, so I do need to fix that. And then this is okay. Alright, so let me correct the mounts here. So one of the things we did, we turned basically turned this one into a block, this one into a block. That's already a square block. This is a square block. So we really didn't change that much here. Wow, this is getting really laggy. And we turned that one into a block, which then mandates that one becomes a block. Now, if all went well, we still have all of our angles and transitions. Yes, we do. Whoa. Yeah, this is getting laggy to the point of I don't know that there's even any point in finishing this thing. It's so large that I don't know that it will actually function. All right, this is the red side. So let me bore into this as I actually intended to do. Nope, yeah, I can. So I have to get myself on plane, which is here. It would have been nice. Can I? I could transition around this edge and then come up one, or I could come out here and plumb this external, and I think I'm gonna do that. So, Control 8, taskbar 8. So I think I am done with shielding. I really don't think there is any other purpose for shielding. At the moment, I'm done. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to make one more change as far as weapons goes. And in fact, let's go ahead and finish the weapons idea. Now, weapons idea number 1, redundancy. So these two systems, one on this side, one on this side, have a single feed point, which is this. Okay, so first thing I want to do is change that so we have a redundant system. Now, one of the other things I'm going to do, now keeping in mind these guys are actually sitting on another block. Okay, so why is that of concern? Because if I were to destroy this block, change this block into something else, then that floats off into space. So the idea here, let me go ahead and go to my toolbar number 4. I'm going to change colors. I am on Tiger Orange, which is exactly what I want. I'm going to change all 3 of these. Why am I changing all 3 of these? Because I'm going to put more weapons in. So this is a corner. If I add another one, it's going to become an edge, which happens to be a 9. So I'm going to set this up on end, and then that is going to be here. The other thing I want to do is go ahead and click N, which is going to turn on my mirroring. I have two-way mirroring turned on. So I'm mirroring in front of me, and I'm mirroring to my left. So you can see the green transition plane and the blue transition plane. So the idea here is I'm going to do this once, and it's actually going to do it in 3 other places besides what I'm doing here. So there's the edge, because I want to put something there. Now, one of the interesting things is that there is now a yellow color, and I do not know what the yellow means. Okay, so this one is also going to transition from a yellow to a red, or sorry, a corner to an edge, and this one is going to become an edge. And again, I don't know what the yellow means, and unfortunately the wiki website has not been updated, so I don't think it knows what that means either. So I have no idea what the yellow means. Alright, so I put some holes there. That was actually on purpose. Go to toolbar 3, punch up number 4, and I'm going to slide up to the conveyor tube here, and we're going to roll to the center. Now, what is this for? Well, just like I interconnected on this side, right here, I'm going to do the same thing over here, which now means I have 2 feed points to each set of turrets, which is exactly what I want. So we're going to nuke that. We're going to go back over to 4 4s. I need a, we're going to change over to the green because this is main supply. So 4. I can't actually see. All right. So there's that one. There is this one. And then I need a number 6, which is a T. There we go. T, which is here. We change back to tiger orange. We're going to actually turn the T upside down and then sideways, which will then interconnect. And they turn yellow. Don't know what yellow means. So, 5. I really want to figure out what the yellow means because I've seen this quite a few times before, and I do not know what it means. And these guys all changed to yellow as well, so I don't know what the yellow means. Strange because some of them are yellow and some of them are green. Could just mean that it's connected, but there's a hole. All right, so what are we doing? Why did we do all of this? First thing to do is to figure out what my center plane is. So you can see I have the control panels on the same side here. So there's the control panel, control panel, control panel, control panel, right? So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Whoops. Too far. So, this is a missile turret. Wrong color, but missile turret. So I've been doing all the missile turrets, or all the turrets are black. Then we punch up our Gatling, and we put in 2 Gatling. And the controller is there, and the control is there.
No energy.
Okay, so if we look around, we should have seen that 3 got added. So I added these 3, and by way of mirroring, those 3 got added, and those 3 got added. So we now have all of the missile turrets upper and lower. So now we have a few more, and we are connected redundantly. So let's go ahead and do this. We will show all hidden blocks. Click on something, Control A, which will select everything. Go to me, which will set up everything to be me as the owner. Turn this off. Okay, we have Gatling turrets. Now, your settings for all of these different things may be different. Here is the conventions that I use. My Gatling turrets arm at 800, and that's, again, that's your preference. Are they accurate out to 800? Not even close. But it's nice to have flak going out that direction. Meteors are on. Missiles are on. Small ships, blah, blah, blah. Everything down here to neutrals, and I turn off neutrals. I don't want to kill my allies, okay? And allies are considered to be neutral. So once I have all of that set up, then I do a control left click on my Gatling group, save. I do not want them on the toolbar. They are an inventoried item, and turn them off on my terminal. Okay, and we do similar things here with the missile turrets. We just added 4 of them. We're going to leave the missiles because the missiles are exceedingly inaccurate out there at the 800 range. So one of the interesting things about missiles, the missiles are actually dumb missiles. Okay, you lob them in the direction and hope they hit. Okay, there's no guidance, there's no anything. So What happens is that the missile turret locks onto a target. It aims in the direction of the target at the time of lock and launches. Okay, so if you have a moving incoming target, then it's probably not going to be where the missile locked. Okay, which is to say it will not be where the turret thought it was, because that target has moved. Alright, so having said that, 600 meters, we'll leave that as it is. I turn off idle movement because it does eat up CPU time. Targeting meteors is on. Missiles are not a good ordnance against missiles. Sorry, just doesn't work. Characters, kind of the same thing, way overkill, and off for neutrals. Okay, so those are my standard settings. We go up here now to missile turrets, control, left click, which will highlight the group, do a save, and then off on the toolbar. Inventory stays on because they do have an inventory, and off on the terminal. So we should be back to just our containers, which are our 6 proposed pull-in containers. Alright, we are as close to an hour. Yes, I'm over. That's a surprise, I'm sure. We're as close to an hour as we can be, so this is a great place to stop. So we did get the weapon systems tied in. They are all redundant now with 2 separate feeds for each one of the missile conveyor systems, which are really just interconnected into the main supply. So technically, these are the green, but Tiger Orange is Tiger Orange. So, this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.